Welcome to Brave Healer Productions. It's time to experience what's possible. So, what if there's something you haven't learned yet that could change everything? Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we are helping the world experience what's possible. Here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of one of our newest books. This one is called Stories, Tools, and Community for Healing Curious Humans. And I first have a quick but huge shout out to our lead author, Natalie Peterson, for the massive and powerful mission she had to bring some of the most passionate and knowledgeable healers together to create this incredible community and this amazing resource in this book. I can't wait for you all to get your hands on it. So I have some of the authors here with me today. They are pretty amazing people. Fallon Hunter Morningstar and Ian Morris are the founders of the Radiant Balance System and Listening to Smile, innovative companies combining functional wellness, nervous system regulation, and transformative healing through frequency-minded music. I've got Mandy Webb Hancock with me. She's a networking, marketing, birth, and postpartum doula. Network marketing, birth, and postpartum doula. Oh my gosh. Okay, I have questions, Mandy. She's a childbirth educator, breathwork facilitator, and homeschooling mom of 4 who helps women break out of limiting beliefs and patterns. And Scott Holmes is an intuitive energy alchemist, leading professional men and women on their journey of discovering joy and purpose. Thanks, you guys, all for being here. We're going to have a juicy conversation about these awesome healing topics today. So, Ian and Fallon, I want to start with you first. Give me a little bit of the why behind the chapter that you guys co-wrote together.
Well, thank you for having us, and we are excited to be here today. Really, the why behind the chapter, I feel like kind of is a couple fold, but just touching on those. Healing Curious Humans, right? The title right there. I have considered myself an extremely curious person. So, right there was an invitation to kind of, okay, let's contemplate moving forward with this chapter. Another why was giving the opportunity for Ian and I as a couple to do a chapter together and really work together to form the right words, the depth, the emotion that we'd like to cultivate in both of our businesses. And thirdly, the why that's more personal to me is showing people that there's going to be hardships in our life, right? But how can we take that pause and reflect that this is all for good reason? And so the tool that we'll dive into, I think another question that Laura has is going to be pivotal. Just that nervous system regulation component to raise your frequency, having that story and education is really part of my why.
And I think my why is just when Fallon and I started working together, it was really plain to see that a lot of the clients out that were coming to us both were on one side of the fence or the other, which was their bodies were out of shape or they were extremely mentally fit and spiritually fit, or they had these really fit bodies and then were kind of lacking that spiritual fitness or that mental clarity that they were looking for. And so it was just kind of a no-brainer to combine these services, the frequency music and the mindfulness with the nutrition and the physical movement of the body and some of the clinical testing and bringing those together. And so for me, the why was to really show these two things, these two facets coming together as one, and to show how that could be a full spectrum for people. So
Yeah, I love it. The combination. I mean, both of them separately are super powerful, you guys, but bringing it together is like the integration, I think, that needs to happen for, people want to heal, but not for like 2 minutes. They want long lasting, sustainable, effective kinds of things. And when you guys brought that together, I mean, that is just what I feel in that. Anything else about that you want to tell us?
So, for me personally, when I got into functional health, I did a few lab tests. They really helped guide the direction of my healing. It wasn't until I added in the nervous system stuff and the meditation and becoming aware of how I got here, right, that the transformation took place. So, again, it's almost like this dynamic unfolding of the sound, adding in the nervous system regulation, and really the awareness to change course of how to get here, where do I want to go. So just adding in functional screenings are fantastic, but that's just one piece of this huge puzzle. And we really have to get down to the nervous system to truly transform our life.
Thank you. Thank you both for saying yes to this project, for being here today to share. We'll hear more from you guys in just a minute or two. Um, let's move to Mandy. Mandy, tell us a little bit of the why behind your chapter.
Thank you so much, Laura. I'm so honored to be here and so honored to be a part of this incredible project and this incredible book. Every chapter is just full of just amazing messages and tools for healing. And I'm just thrilled to be a part of this. So, my big why for writing this chapter really comes down to helping people remember that they are not alone. I myself have experienced times, like all of us, where our plan has not gone the way that we thought it might. And that can cause trauma, and we can struggle to process those changes. And my chapter is really about being able to tap into the spiritual resources that we have. We all have spirit guides and angels and ancestors who are always looking out for us and who are always with us. We are never alone going through these things that we go through in life, because life be lifing, right? There's always some twist and turn that's going to throw us off. And it's easier to get back to baseline when we know that we are supported by divine source. And so my chapter is really about helping people remember that connection and tap back into that connection, and to be able to practice doing it so that it gets easier and easier, and that we can really lean on that infinite source that is always available to us.
You're going to give us, some ideas about your tool in a minute or two, but if somebody's on the path and they're just dabbling and they need that first step, and I don't know, while I was listening to you talk, I was thinking, well, the first step has got to be the trust of it, like understanding that those guides are there, period. So if somebody just has lost that, where do you start with them? What do you say?
That's a great question. Everybody's on such an individual journey, but I would say, really leaning towards nature and trying to do some different meditations in nature, and really trying to quiet the mind. Because I think a lot of the time when people are resistant to trusting, it's that, again, that we've lost that connection. And so nature and quieting the mind, where we stop talking ourselves out of believing it, we are able to trust more, and we are able to have these messages and this guidance come in without the resistance. And so being in nature and trying to quiet that mind with some meditation is probably the best first step, just to being open to. I understand that it's woo woo, but I also firmly believe that it's real. So that would be a good way, I think, to have people just kind of step through the threshold of, okay, what is this really about? What is she even talking about?
I love that answer, because nature is one of my fastest and most furious connection places. And I was talking about nature in general and just connecting to nature with somebody that helps me out. And I was like, oh, I haven't had a chance to do XYZ. And she was texting me. She said, remember, you are nature. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter where I am or what I'm doing. If I remember that, I always have that connection. I just loved that answer, because the walk in the woods, while that is like my primary choice, like I want to go for the walk in the woods or on the beach or whatever, you can't always do it. So And I love that in terms of coming back to the trust. Mandy, thank you also for saying yes to this, for being a part of it, for being here today.
Thank you so much. It's an honor, truly.
Scott, how about you? Tell us a little bit about your why.
Well, the first why in this particular book was when I sat down with Natalie Peterson, and her energy just blew me away. She is a force of nature. And it really, um, it was the easiest piece that I think I've written ever, because it just flowed. Her energy just brought it out. And for me, it's about wanting people to come into themselves, to be able to be grounded. You know, you're talking about grounding in nature, just to be grounded within themselves, to be able to be clear, to be able to make conscious decisions, to be able to be present. And we need all of those things going right in order to feel like we're where we need to be, where we are present, where we can act with compassion, with heart, with instead of just reacting to a situation that life bring to us. And so it's really about clearing all the junk out, and really being able to listen to your intuition. Now, there's questions whether intuition is here, where it is within your body, whether it's in your gut, the gut feelings. Wherever it resides within you, it's that voice that you need to listen to, that voice that you need to hear and be quiet enough to hear, because it doesn't yell. I don't know about anyone else, but whenever I hear it, it's in the quiet moments. It's when you are quiet, your body is quiet. When I'm in meditation, when I'm in yoga, it is that voice that says, oh, by the way, you really need to do this. It's almost like the Jiminy Cricket consciousness of that kind of subtle, small voice that brings out. And when you ask the question, should I do this? The answer is always right there.
Yeah, powerful stuff. I love that so much. We just had a big trip with a group of authors, and the entire theme was intuition. And I loved hearing all of the ways people talk about it, because it's different, a little different for everybody. When you say, get quiet, get centered, get grounded, I remember a time when that was being said to me in the beginning of my journey. It's kind of a similar question that I asked Mandy. It's like, when you don't even know what that means, where do you start somebody? Like, so if you are going to help someone very, very new to even what does centering and grounding mean, what would you say to them, Scott?
Well, it's much like anything else, where if you've never felt it, never seen it, never heard it, it's foreign. And it's a matter of practice. So I bring people through Reiki. I have 5 other modalities that I do, but everybody is familiar with Reiki, and I bring them through Reiki in a very self-guided Reiki, to be able to kind of clear themselves. I try to give them a tool to be able to do this themselves. Everybody goes to the doctor and they want to get better, and so they give them a prescription. They go home and they do what they're told, right? They say, move like this, take this pill. Well, in the same way, the tools that we give people are that kind of medicine. We know how to heal because we've done it ourselves. We've worked on ourselves. We can't give this advice unless we've done it ourselves. And it's those tools where people can do it themselves, to be able to continually do it until that routine becomes a ritual. And the only difference between a routine and a ritual, by the way, is the intent, what we give it, the presence we give it. Habits can come and go, but rituals, they have more meaning. And that's where I instruct a lot of my clients, is to be able to do that for themselves. And when we change things, kind of that one turn at a time, that's when real change happens. And if you do those changes every day, all of a sudden you look back 6 months and go, wow, I've come a long way.
For sure. Thank you, Scott. Thanks for being a part of this project. I have more thank yous for all of you. And while I talk about that a little bit, I want to just give everyone a little peek at this beautiful rainbow book cover. I love this book cover. I love everything about this cover, but you guys really took on my challenge to put the vulnerable story in the book. So that's one thank you. But in the second part of the chapter, you're stepping up with your master teachings, these tools. And it's one thing, you guys do this with your clients every day, like Scott was talking about, but it's quite another thing to get it in black and white in a book in a way the reader can have that practical experience. And that's one of my biggest goals with these books and these collaborations. Y'all did that so brilliantly. So thank you for that too. Mandy, I think curiosity, part of our book title, is a superpower of awareness. And I'm curious about how you guys think about curiosity when it comes to healing. Like, talk to me about curiosity. How did that help you on your journey?
Yes, curiosity is the key, right? I had really an out of body experience, and I wrote my chapter about this experience when I was birthing my third child. And what happened was sort of just out of this world. I was able to exit my body and connect with source energy, and I saw the light turn into my baby, and then was then passed down a line of women who I recognized as my ancestors, my angels, my guides, people that I knew, friends that I knew who had passed away. And it was super profound. Clearly, I mean, this was just a pivotal moment in my life that I really wasn't expecting. And the baby slowly was passed down, and the last person to pass them was my best friend who had passed away. And in that moment, I gave birth. And so right before that, I was really feeling like I could not do this. It was the moment of transition in birth where most women get to that point. They think, I can't do this, I need help. And that help comes from this, I say external, but also internal source, because this infinite energy is in absolutely everything. And so I had that experience and I got insanely curious. I was like, what just happened? What was that? Who are these people? How did I do that? And so it sent me on this journey of being curious and asking those questions again and again until I found resources that helped me answer them. And I found ways to connect on a whim. And these are the tools that I talk about in my chapter, how you can practice connecting and you can be face to face with your loved ones who have passed, or your angels or spirit guides, and you can ask them for guidance and they can show up for you and let you know, help you know what to do. And it all started with that huge curiosity after that just wild experience happened to me. And then it happened again with my fourth baby in a very similar way. So that just solidified my curiosity. I'm still curious. I don't know everything about it. I'm still learning and still practicing, and there's so much that we don't know about the next realm or where life comes from. And so that curiosity just continues to fuel my learning and my sharing and trying to show up from a place of curiosity and vulnerability always, so that I never get to a place where I feel like I know it all, which I don't think could ever happen because there's just no way. So staying curious is key, and it's a huge component to how I even ended up to where I am now.
Yeah, I love that story. Oh my gosh, what an amazing story. You're either going to be curious or think you are insane. So, like, you might as well be curious, right? And
Exactly.
you also touched on being a lifelong learner, which thank you for touching on that, because I think everyone in this Zoom room is definitely that, and everyone in the book as well. So that's a big deal. Okay, Scott, you're next on this. When it comes to the healing journey, how do you think about curiosity? What do you want to add?
I think what you had said about curiosity is the truth, that it is the second strongest after love. Curiosity, I believe, is why we are who we are. If you are never curious, you never learn. If you don't learn, you're stuck in where you are. The reason that I think these beautiful other four people, when people are watching this, besides me, is that they have been curious. They want to learn, they want to grow, they want to see, and they do it them for themselves. Everything that I've learned because I was curious. Why I'm doing Qigong now. I'm 68 years old, which means I'm living my best 18-year-old life on my second half of life. Okay. I am, I wanted to teach travel and I wanted to write, and I'm doing all that now in the second time through. And that's how I view life, in that curiosity. Using curiosity is asking the question. I used to be, I don't know about anyone else, but I used to be very judgmental in my younger days. I used to judge everything. It was either good or bad. I took emotion out of it. Being a guy, I took emotion out of it, and I judged. Black, white. Okay, that was it. Oh my God. Life is gray. It's every shade of gray and every other color. It is never black and white. Everything is just has that richness, that fullness. And it really is a million-mile journey that I found from here to here. For me, it was, and for a lot of people, it is that understanding of self, and then asking quietly, is this for me? And that is the tool that I've tried to use constantly in everything that I do. Why I've said yes to this book and many other projects that Laura has come up with is because, is this for me? And when I get a hell yeah, I'm like, okay, this is whether I know it or not. I went to Peru last year. It was not on my bucket list. Was not on my bucket list. I ended up in Peru on the top of a mountain, many mountains, as a matter of fact. And at my age, never think that I could do it because I was told by my guides that I needed to do this. And it was life changing for me. So it's that curiosity of pushing yourself much further than you ever thought you could, that expands your life, that makes life worth living.
I love listening to you guys talk about this. All right. Over to you, Fallon and Ian. What do you want to say about curiosity?
Curiosity has definitely been part of my life for my entire life. I remember looking at old baby photos and it was always like I'd have coloring books or I'd be on this like really old type of computer in the 90s and I was always that learner, right? But come to today, I think my curiosity has um, grown to want to see the truth to things because I have felt swayed to the untruth, I guess, or to the half truths. And it was almost like I wanted to see how how much I could improve myself from eating holistically to sleeping correctly with circadian rhythm to exercising. Like, how can I create my human being the best that it can be? It was like that curiosity of being my best self. And with the tests, with working with practitioners for my personal health, having all of that information to be able to connect the dots back to my past, that was like revelations, right? I had to be able to almost share that. It's almost like when we have a win, it's like, I need to share that. And I need to pass that along. So it was almost like, how can, I think we've heard before, the brain is always like, it wants more, it wants to expand. So I think it's a lot of times in human nature to keep being curious because what more is there, right? And I think that's how I've turned inward as I'm getting older because I've noticed this trajectory change as being curious of information consumption for recognition versus being curious to explore my heart for myself, getting to know these different parts of myself to then project it outwardly of, again, being the best self, because ultimately that helps everybody else, right? So that's a roundabout way of like how curiosity has continued to evolve as I get older and become more aware.
I like that breakdown a lot, and especially I'm a fellow. I want to know how good it can get person, so I'm always curious about peak performance, mind, body, soul, spirit, like all the ways. So I like that a lot. Ian, you want to add anything about curiosity?
Yeah, I'll just, I'm a poet, musician, uh, artist, visual artist, and anything creative just always sparks my curiosity to explore. But I think the biggest part of my life, like when you look at my human design, I'm a 5-1 generator, and the one being the crucial part in that is I'm an investigator. So I love to dive into information and connect the dots and then be able to, for myself, as Fallon said, bring that truth to myself and see the truth beneath the surface and then be able to share that with people. I think the biggest thing for me growing up is when somebody would say, "Hey man, have you heard of this band?" And I'm like, "No, I never heard of them." And then they show you and you're like, "Oh my God, how have I not known about this?" Right. And so it's like, and then it continued with not just music, but books and artists and, tons of things that kept expanding me. So I loved being a part of that process. I would always say to people that like Rumi and Hafez are some of my favorite poets. And so those people wrote poems, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, not knowing that it would land on my lap and affect my life here in this very distant future. And so I've always wanted to be a part of that curiosity of diving into not only exploring what people have left behind, but myself leaving something behind to be a part of that, that group experiment we call life.
I love that so much. Oh my gosh, yes. I'll just wrap back around to curiosity is a superpower of awareness. I really love that. Okay, I want to give you all a chance to kind of dive into the tool a little bit more. Your master teachings are in this book and they are phenomenal. Scott, what's the most important thing you want us to know about how to heal anything? I'm taking these words from their chapter titles, you guys. So give it to me.
How to heal anything? That is being able to listen. How do you heal? You have to listen. How many of us don't listen to our bodies? How many of us kind of ignore it? You get the pain in the knee, you get the pain in the shoulder, you get the pain somewhere, and we don't really listen. We kind of go through it. I know when I was working full time, you just suck it up, right? And now maybe 2 weeks go by, and then it gets a little worse. Well, what if you took care of it right then and there? What if you took care of that ache, that pain, that nagging feeling sometimes, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical? And a lot of times our physicality is caused by emotions that we have not dealt with. Um, I do clearings with my wife. I do clearings on myself. And when you get that clearing through, you feel better. When you feel better, you act better around people. I don't know about you, but when I'm a guy and when I'm sick, I don't want anybody around. But not getting sick is a great thing. Fallon, you were talking about healing and being an advocate, being your own kind of advocate and doctor by knowing your body. And that's listening. That's listening to everything within you. And you can have everybody has the answers within them. Isn't that the funny part? We all go to the same place. You have the answer and they go, "Oh no, I don't. I don't know what's going on." And it is where we go with people for them to heal is go within themselves and show them where it is so that they can answer it, so they can heal themselves and anything that comes along.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. So it's going to be fun to move over to Ian and Fallon with this because um, it's in a part of their chapter title as well. And I love how the universe puts y'all together on Zoom. It's like the greatest matchups, right? I love how that works out. But for you two, what's the most important thing you want people to know about that journey of self-attunement, right? Like you talk about the frequency within and going in there as well. Tell us what you want us to know.
Biggest piece for the tool is being able to create space between yourself and the emotion. We've heard all the time, like, we're humans having a spiritual experience, and I think it's flip-flop. We're spiritual beings having that human experience. So emotions are with us 24/7, whether we recognize it or not. And I think in today's world, whether we have kids, a mortgage, whatever, we're still bombarded with so much stimulation. And the tool gives you the ability to create some space to be able to reflect and be introspective of what do you need to change. It's almost like what Scott said, taking that pause. And the added track, the frequency minded music track, is specifically the heart chakra. The song is the heart's essence, to help enhance the specific somatic exercise. So that's a kind of a combined tool here. But really, the purpose is for you to create some space so you can see it from a different perspective and not be so over-consumed in it, if that makes sense.
It does. That space creation is the other, I think that's the other piece of awareness superpower. If you can step away and look at it, if you can create a space so you're the observer, the feeler, right? You're not all in it and stuck in it. Ian, what do you want to add?
I'll make this short, but I think it's interesting because I'm a generator and Fallon's a projector. And if you know anything about human design, those are two very different energies. You know, one is more like a bulldozer and the other one's more like a sniper, right? So it's like bulldozer will be out there like there's a needle in that field, I'll plow the whole thing, we'll find it, and the sniper's like, well, let's just look through the scope and we'll take our time. And it's very different, right? But I think what's interesting is having those partners. It can be business partners, intimate partners, whatever, in your life that as a generator, they slow you down. They're teaching you to look at things differently. And for me, this exercise almost brings me to someone that I really love to listen to, which is Neville Goddard. And Neville Goddard talks constantly about how the inner creates the outer. And we always want to look at the outer and say, well, when this gets this way, I'll be better, I'll be happy. And he's like, no, it starts with the inner. And so I think for me, this exercise that we've put together is really helping people to get that space and to start really thinking about what do I want my outer to be. And so that's really what it is for me.
Thank you. All right. I know you guys can tell these tools. Oh my gosh. So any one of your chapters can change a life. I mean, it is that profound. Your tools are amazing, and you're so generous in the offering of these tools that you teach. So Mandy, you're going to close us out today on yours. What's the most important thing you want us to know about being divinely supported by our guides?
I think the most important piece that I want people to leave with is knowing that you are not alone. I think so often when we go through difficult times or trauma, and those can be really isolating. And when you're in a low place and you feel like you have nowhere to turn, there's always a hand reaching down for you to help. And there's always spirit guides and angels and ancestors and the great spirit and even your higher self who are available to tap in and help you. But you have to be aware and you have to practice that connection so that you can rely on that. It is an infinite source energy that is always available. And oftentimes, when we are in that low vibrational space, just like Ian and Fallon were talking about, the problem, if it's right in front of you, it's hard to see past it. So, really stepping back and giving yourself that space to be the observer, and at the same time, connecting to source energy from that space of observing and allowing clarity to come in, allowing the answers to come to you, and just remembering and knowing that you are never alone. I think is just so, so important, especially these days when so many people are struggling and feeling really alone and isolated. It's important to remember that we're not.
That is a fantastic way to wrap this up. And I am going to say thank you to all of you. Mandy, Scott, Ian, Fallon, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone. Y'all are for sure not alone. This is way more than a book. This is a very generous community waiting for you to reach out. Drop down into the show notes and you're going to find ways to connect with everybody here. You can ask your questions, you can get support, carry on the important conversations that we started today. Makes me excited to think about this community. Of course, we want you to hop over to Amazon and grab your copy of this beautiful book. I've got the link down below for that. And lastly, today, everyone, remember your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.